They say it's impossible, but their doubt doesn't get to decide your destiny. When you truly believe in yourself, the world only has one choice: to follow your lead. Opportunities don't wait for permission, but your belief does. Today will decide whether you stay ordinary or become unstoppable. Belief always comes before evidence. That is a principle most people resist because they have been trained to wait. They wait for results before they commit, for permission before they move, for proof before they decide. But nothing meaningful in life works that way. If evidence came first, belief would be unnecessary. Belief exists precisely because evidence does not show up at the beginning. It shows up at the end. Every breakthrough you admire started as an internal decision long before it became a visible reality. The business existed in the mind before it existed on paper. The confidence was formed in private before it was recognized in public. The discipline was practiced in silence before success made noise. What you see in the world is always a reflection of what someone settled within themselves first. Most people say, once I see it, I'll believe it. But high performers live by a different code. They say, I believe it, therefore I will see it. That difference in thinking is what separates observers from creators. The moment you require evidence before belief, you give control of your future to your circumstances. And circumstances are terrible leaders. They change daily. Belief, on the other hand, is stable. It is a decision, not a feeling. The reason belief must come first is because belief dictates behavior, and behavior creates results. If you don't believe something is possible for you, you will never behave in a way that produces it. You won't invest the time, you won't take the risk, you won't endure the discomfort. You will always quit just early enough to stay average, not because you lack ability, but because your belief never gave your ability permission to operate. People misunderstand belief and think it means pretending or hoping. It doesn't. Belief is alignment. It is choosing to act as if the future you desire is already justified. When you believe, you show up differently, you speak differently, you make decisions faster, you stop negotiating with fear. And when your actions change, outcomes eventually have no choice but to follow. Look at how the world works. Every system responds to certainty. Employers promote certainty. Customers buy certainty. Opportunities move towards certainty. Even resistance respects certainty. When you are unsure, life mirrors that uncertainty back to you. When you hesitate, doors hesitate. When you doubt, results delay. But when you are grounded in belief, momentum begins to form, even before results are visible. This is why waiting for confidence to come from success is a mistake. Confidence must come before success, or success will never arrive. The internal decision to believe is what creates the emotional resilience to keep moving when nothing seems to be working. And that season, when nothing seems to be working, is the season where belief matters most. Evidence usually shows up quietly at first, small wins, minor progress, subtle shifts. But most people miss them because they are waiting for dramatic proof. They don't understand that belief sharpens perception. When you believe, you notice opportunities you were blind to before. You hear information differently. You recognize alignment. Belief doesn't just change what you do, it changes what you see. The danger of relying on evidence first is that evidence is always lagging. Results trail decisions. Outcomes follow habits. Harvest comes after planting. If you judge your future based only on current evidence, you will always underestimate what is possible. The present moment is not a verdict, it is a snapshot. Belief allows you to operate based on direction, not appearance. When you settle belief internally, something powerful happens. You stop asking if it's possible and start asking how to make it inevitable. Your questions shift. Your standards rise. Your tolerance for distraction drops. You begin to protect your mindset because you understand that belief is the engine and doubt is a leak in the system. At first, people around you may not see what you see. That's normal. Belief is personal before it becomes public. Validation always lags vision. But when you continue to act in alignment with belief, evidence eventually catches up. And when it does, people will call it luck, not realizing it was built long before it was visible. Belief coming before evidence is not risky. It is responsible. It is how every meaningful outcome has ever been created. The risk is waiting for proof and staying exactly where you are. The moment you choose belief, you choose movement. And movement, sustained long enough, produces the evidence you were waiting for all along. The world does not reward potential. It rewards confidence. Potential is invisible until it is expressed, and expression requires certainty. You can be the most gifted person in the room, but if you don't communicate belief in yourself, your value will remain hidden. Talent without confidence stays locked inside, unused and unnoticed. Most people are full of potential, but potential is passive. It waits, it hopes, it assumes someone will come along and discover it. Confidence, on the other hand, is active. It moves first. It speaks up. It steps forward before it is invited. And because the world responds to what is visible, confidence is what gets rewarded. Look around and you will notice something interesting. The people who advance fastest are not always the most skilled, but they are often the most certain. Certainty creates trust. When someone believes in themselves, others feel safe believing in them too. Confidence signals capability even before results are proven. That signal opens doors that talent alone cannot unlock. This is why hesitation is so costly. When you hesitate, you communicate doubt, not just to others, but to yourself. Each time you pull back, you reinforce the story that you are not ready. Over time, that story becomes your identity. And once doubt becomes identity, opportunity stops knocking. Not because you are unqualified, but because you appear unconvinced. Confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance is loud insecurity. Confidence is quiet clarity. It is knowing your value without needing constant approval. It is understanding that you may not know everything, but you are willing to learn, adjust, and persist. That willingness, expressed with certainty, is what the world responds to. People often say they are waiting until they feel confident. That day rarely comes. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for, it is a muscle you build. It grows through action, not thought. You act before you feel ready, and readiness develops through repetition. Each step forward strengthens belief. Each decision made without permission reinforces self-trust. The marketplace, relationships, and leadership environments all operate the same way. They reward those who take responsibility for their presence. When you show up with confidence, you take up space. When you take up space, when your voice is heard. When your voice is heard, your value is recognized. None of that requires perfection. It requires conviction. Potential makes people say they could be great someday. Confidence makes people say, we need them now. One delays results, the other accelerates them. This is why so many capable people remain overlooked. They are waiting to be chosen instead of choosing themselves. And the world rarely chooses those who haven't already chosen themselves. Confidence also influences decision-making. When you believe in yourself, you make cleaner decisions. You stop overthinking. You stop outsourcing your judgment. You move with intention. That decisiveness creates momentum, and momentum attracts opportunity. The world follows movement, not contemplation. There will always be reasons to doubt. There will always be someone more experienced, more connected, more established. But confidence is not built by comparison. It is built by commitment, commitment to growth, commitment to action, commitment to standing behind your decisions even when outcomes are uncertain. The truth is, the world is not looking for perfection. It is looking for leadership. Leadership begins with self-belief expressed through confident action. When you embody that your potential finally has a channel, it becomes visible, it becomes valuable. And once confidence gives your talent a voice, the world has no reason to overlook you anymore. Your self-image is the invisible ceiling on your life. It quietly determines what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you pursue. Long before results show up in your bank account, your career, or your influence, they exist as assumptions about who you believe you are. You don't get paid based on what you want. You get paid based on what you believe you are worth. Most people think income is about effort or hours, but effort without identity hits a limit. You will never consistently earn more than the version of yourself you believe is normal. When higher levels of success feel unfamiliar or undeserved, you will unconsciously sabotage them. Not because you are lazy or incapable, but because your self-image is trying to protect what feels safe. Influence works the same way. You cannot lead people to a place you don't see yourself belonging. If you view yourself as small, you will communicate smallness through your posture, your voice, and your decisions. People respond to that energy. They don't follow titles, they follow conviction. Conviction comes from alignment between who you think you are and how you show up. Self-image is formed early and reinforced daily. Words spoken to you, experiences you had, failures you internalized, all of these shape the internal picture you carry. Over time, that picture becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes comfort. Even when it limits you, it feels normal. That is why change feels uncomfortable. Growth challenges identity before it ever changes results. If you want to raise your income or expand your influence, you must first raise your self-concept. Not through positive thinking, but through intentional upgrading. That means exposing yourself to environments that stretch you, information that challenges you, and standards that demand more from you. Your mind needs new reference points before your life can produce new outcomes. People often set goals that are far above their self-image. When results don't come, they blame strategy. But strategy is rarely the issue, identity is. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will create struggle even with the best plan. If you see yourself as someone who leads, you will find ways to lead even in chaos. Your habits reveal your self-image. What you tolerate, what you repeat, what you avoid, all of it is evidence of how you see yourself. You don't wake up every day and consciously decide your limits. Your self-image decides them automatically. That is why lasting change requires identity work, not just motivation. The marketplace responds to perceived value, and perceived value starts with self-perception. When you believe your time is valuable, you protect it. When you believe your voice matters, you use it. When you believe your contribution is important, you price it accordingly. The world takes its cues from you. It mirrors your internal valuation back to you. Rising your self-image does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let your past define your future. It means understanding that who you have been is not who you must remain. Identity is not fixed. It is flexible. But it only changes when you consciously decide to see yourself differently and support that decision with consistent behavior. Every new level of success requires you to become someone new internally before you arrive there externally. If you try to bypass that process, results will feel heavy and unstable. But when your self-image grows first, success feels natural. It feels aligned. And when alignment exists, growth becomes sustainable. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to the level of your self-image. Upgrade how you see yourself, and you won't have to chase results. They will meet you at the level of identity you've already claimed. Certainty is a force. It cuts through confusion, silences doubt, and gives direction to energy. When your decisions are final, your mind stops arguing with itself. That internal alignment creates speed, and speed creates results. Most people don't fail because they choose the wrong path. They fail because they never choose a path with enough conviction to walk it fully. Indecision drains power. Every time you hesitate, you split your focus between moving forward and protecting yourself from failure. That split creates friction. Certainty removes friction. When you decide, truly decide, you free mental and emotional resources that were previously trapped in doubt. Those resources then get redirected into execution. Life responds to decisiveness, not because decisiveness guarantees perfection, but because it creates momentum. Momentum is what turns small actions into visible progress. When you move with certainty, you create a trail. That trail attracts people, resources, and opportunities that were invisible when you stood still. Many people confuse certainty with having all the answers. That is a mistake. Certainty is not about knowing how everything will work out. It is about knowing that you will work it out. That internal confidence changes how you face obstacles. Problems stop feeling like signs to quit and start feeling like signals to adjust. When decisions are tentative, effort becomes tentative. You try halfway. You commit conditionally. You hold back just in case. That hesitation is felt in your work. Others can sense it. The world responds accordingly. But when decisions are final, effort becomes full. You show up differently. You stay longer. You push through resistance because quitting is no longer an option. Certainty also simplifies life. It reduces noise. When you know what you stand for and what you're building, distractions lose their appeal. You stop chasing every opportunity and start choosing only what aligns with your decision. That clarity increases effectiveness. Energy stops leaking into places that don't matter. Resistance is unavoidable, but certainty changes how resistance behaves. When you are unsure, resistance grows louder. It intimidates you. When you are certain, resistance loses its leverage. It may still exist, but it no longer controls your direction. Certainty does not remove obstacles. It removes their power to stop you. This is why people who are certain often appear lucky. Things seem to fall into place for them. In reality, their certainty makes them consistent, and consistency compounds. While others are restarting, they are refining. While others are doubting, they are deepening skill. Over time, that accumulation of focused effort looks like sudden success. Certainty forces learning. When quitting is not an option, growth becomes mandatory. You pay attention. You ask better questions. You adapt faster. Uncertainty looks for escape routes. Certainty looks for solutions. That difference alone separates those who plateau from those who progress. Your environment also responds to certainty. People are drawn to clarity. They trust those who know where they are going. Certainty communicates leadership even without authority. It reassures others that their time and energy are safe with you. That trust opens doors no RA summit can. Certainty begins with a decision to stop negotiating with fear. Fear does not disappear, but it loses its vote. When fear is no longer part of the decision-making process, action becomes cleaner and more effective. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating progress in imperfect ones. When your decisions are final, life adjusts. Not instantly, but inevitably. The world always responds to alignment. When your thoughts, choices, and actions point in the same direction, results follow. Certainty forces results not by force, but by focus. Action is the ultimate proof of belief. You can speak about your vision, dream about your future, and even write plans on paper, but until you act, belief remains theoretical. Belief without action is like a fire without oxygen. It may look impressive in your mind, but it produces no heat, no light, and no impact. Action turns internal conviction into external reality. The problem most people face is thinking that belief alone will move the world. They say, I believe I can succeed, but their behaviors don't match that statement. They hesitate, procrastinate, or only take half measures. The world does not respond to statements or intentions. It responds to movement, to tangible effort, to evidence that belief exists in action. Every step you take reinforces your belief. Action is both the evidence and the teacher of belief. When you act, you discover what works and what doesn't. You refine your approach. You grow in skill, confidence, and resilience. Belief without action stagnates. Belief with action evolves into mastery and influence. Small actions accumulate into momentum. Most people underestimate the power of consistent daily effort because they are waiting for some dramatic leap to validate their belief. But progress rarely comes in leaps. It comes in small, deliberate steps repeated over time. Each action is a signal to the universe, a declaration that your belief is non-negotiable. Action also reveals internal resistance. Doubt, fear, and uncertainty are always present, but when you take action, these obstacles are tested against reality. You discover that most fears are exaggerated, most doubts are temporary, and most obstacles are surmountable. Belief grows not in comfort, but in confrontation. Action forces your inner world to align with your outer goals. People often think they need perfect conditions to act. They wait for the right time, enough resources, or a clear path. That is a trap. Action in imperfect conditions is what separates those who achieve from those who only dream. The universe favors movement, not perfection. Every action you take, even when conditions are not ideal, strengthens your credibility in life, with yourself, and with others. Action also communicates to others that your belief is real. Words can be dismissed, ideas can be ignored, but action is visible. It commands respect, attracts collaboration, and builds trust. People follow those who demonstrate commitment through consistent behavior, not those who merely speak about possibility. Belief without action creates frustration. You see potential in your mind, but never experience it in reality. That gap between vision and experience produces doubt, anxiety, and stagnation. Action closes that gap. It transforms abstract belief into concrete results. Even when outcomes are delayed, action reinforces the narrative that you are capable, persistent, and serious about your goals. Action trains discipline and perseverance. Belief may ignite the spark, but it is action that fuels the fire over time. Each completed task, each problem solved, each risk taken strengthens your confidence and makes the next step easier. The habit of action creates an upward spiral. Action builds belief. Belief fuels more action, and momentum compounds. Finally, action transforms identity. When you consistently act in alignment with your beliefs, you start seeing yourself differently. You no longer identify as someone who hopes, wishes, or talks about potential. You become a doer, a creator, someone the world must reckon with. Action proves to yourself more than anyone else that your belief is real, non-negotiable, and unstoppable. Change begins on the inside before it shows on the outside. The moment your mindset shifts, your perception of the world shifts, and with it your opportunities, relationships, and outcomes. Most people try to change life first, new job, new income, new circumstances, but they fail because external change without internal alignment is temporary. When your thinking evolves, everything around you must eventually adjust to match it. Your beliefs, attitudes, and self-concept act like a magnet. They attract situations, people, and experiences that align with your internal state. If you see yourself as limited, you will unconsciously gravitate toward limitations. If you see yourself as capable and worthy, you will naturally align with possibilities. The world does not create change for you. It responds to the signals you broadcast internally through your confidence, decisions, and behavior. Most people underestimate the influence of mindset because they confuse it with wishful thinking. Mindset is not hoping for better results. It is the lens through which you interpret reality and the engine that drives consistent action. A person who believes in possibility acts differently than a person who doubts. Their energy, decisions, and persistence are fundamentally different, and that difference shapes the response they get from the world. Change also requires intentional focus. When your mindset shifts, it directs your attention toward what matters and away from distractions. You notice opportunities others overlook. You interpret setbacks as lessons instead of failures. You evaluate choices through the lens of growth instead of fear. This selective attention multiplies your effectiveness, turning ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. Consistency is critical. A single shift in mindset does not automatically rewrite your life, but repeated alignment between thought, belief, and action compounds into results. Every choice you make in alignment with your new mindset reinforces it. Every behavior that reflects your upgraded self concept solidifies it. Over time, what was once aspirational becomes habitual, and the world adapts to your new standard of being. Resistance will always appear, but mindset determines how it is experienced. When you maintain an elevated perspective, obstacles become opportunities. Criticism becomes guidance, and failure becomes feedback. People who do not upgrade internally see resistance as a signal to quit. Those who upgrade internally see it as a test of their resolve. How you interpret external events is a direct reflection of your internal state. Your environment also responds to your internal change. People gravitate towards certainty and competence. When your mindset shifts, your energy changes, and others feel that energy. Opportunities, partnerships, and support naturally align with those who demonstrate internal clarity and purpose. The world does not reward intention alone, it rewards the visible expression of a transformed mindset. Action bridges mindset and reality. A new mindset without corresponding action is theoretical. Action without a new mindset is blind. When they combine, the effect is exponential. Your upgraded mindset guides your decisions, your actions execute them, and the results reinforce your internal beliefs. Change becomes self-sustaining because internal and external systems are aligned. Finally, understand that internal change precedes sustainable transformation. Life cannot force you to grow. It mirrors your internal readiness. If you attempt to change externally before you upgrade your internal state, progress will feel heavy, unstable, and temporary. When your mind evolves first, external circumstances are compelled to follow. The world always adjusts to the level of clarity, belief, and alignment you carry within yourself. When you fully embrace this principle, you recognize that the key to lasting success is not chasing more resources, approval, or circumstances. It is mastering your inner world. Your thoughts, beliefs, and self-perception dictate the range of what is possible. As your internal state rises, everything external, your results, relationships, and opportunities must inevitably rise with it. Change begins within, and when it does, the world cannot help but respond. Believe in yourself and watch the world make way for you. When you value yourself, life has no choice but to recognize it. Your belief is your greatest weapon, and it's time to unleash it. Trust yourself, take action, and nothing in the world can stop you.